Welcome back, players. I'm Jack with 36 Cancel. Coco the Wise Cat has been banished from my studio right now because she can never stay off the table when I'm sleeving a deck, which is exactly what I'm about to do. I'm going to sleeve a deck for you players, and as I sleeve it, I'm going to tech it for you. Judging by the sleeves you see on the table, you might know which one this is. Beautiful Albedo sleeves here for my beautiful Nazarick Ainz Ooal build. As you can see, I've got a variety of equipment. I've got perfect fits. I've got oversleeves, regular sleeves, and a nice Ultimate Guard deck box, sidewind of variety. Never used one of these before, but it seems pretty solid for my Nazarick deck. So since I'm not putting this in some of the more standard sleeves, as you might guess, this is the culmination of a lot of bad decisions, a lot of selling cards I didn't need anymore, a lot of bad box openings, cracking prize packs, and 18 trial decks later. A+ would still do it again. This is Max Rarity Nazarick. This is as money as you can get it. Not technically as money as you can get it, but pretty damn close. The build I'm currently running, there is no card in this deck that could be shiny, but is not. Look at this. Gonna let you players at home share in this moment of finally getting all these cards in. Cracked a few of these myself out of prize packs, out of boxes. I ended up trading for some of them, ended up selling some of my spares from my binder to finance buying some of them off the secondary market, and cracked a bunch of trial decks for the card at the end. But in the end, what we have here is pretty much the Max Rarity Nazarick deck. This is the Ainz Ooal build. This is not Standby. This is not Raven Black. This is Ainz Ooal. Little cherry on top there. So, as we sleeve this up, we're going to tech this deck. I'm not going to make an additional deck tech about Nazarick. We've moved past that set, honestly. But I haven't. I'm still playing the decks that I built with the pools I got. I'm going to have a lot of fun playing my Nazarick deck here for a long time to come. And I'm going to hang on to this. But I know you players at home want to see other content. We have a lot of stuff to cover in the newer sets that are out. I'm working on a new series of videos about how to get better at Vice 4s, which I hope you've been enjoying so far. I'm about to release my second video in that series. I hope it's very helpful. We have the fall wrap-up to do for Weiss. Man, there's a lot of stuff on the horizon, and more box openings, to the dismay of my wallet, are coming up. So we got to get through this. It's mid-November. We have to take care of Nazarick, which came out end of September. But this is the final video I'm going to make on the Nazarick set. This is the last deck tech. Probably going to post up a few games on it, but not much else. You'll see this is kind of the last and culmination of what I've been doing with the set. So, without further ado, let's just get into it. Deck consists of 8 Climax, 40 characters, and 2 events. The 2 events are level 3 shooting stars. We'll get to them when we talk about the level 3. Going to set aside Climaxes for now. Start at level 0, like we usually do for deck techs. Talk about how this deck plays, what's in it, why we run what we do, and what makes it fun to play. Got these Albedo sleeves. Man, these things are gorgeous. Now, I will admit, I actually already opened them because this is actually take 3 of me trying to make this video. First time I tried to make the video, I realized I did not actually add these 2 cards into level 1, and I'm like, wait, I only have 40 cards. What's going on here? Plus the 8 Climaxes. Second time I tried to make it, I realized that the way the sleeves are facing, my perfect fits, which I've already put on, were backwards. Didn't want to make you guys sit all through that, so we're going to pick up again with the perfect fits already on, and we're just going to jump into what's going on with this deck. I actually want to start off, though, with level 0 here, talk about what's going on, just lay this out, and we'll talk about some of the cards that are in this. As you can see, it's a pretty diverse toolkit. We've got 2 4-ofs, 2 3-ofs, and 3 1-ofs. Starting off, we've got unreliable nature manipulator Mare. He is a mill runner. If he mills a grotesque or Nazaric character, he can move to another part of the stage. It's open on the center slot. And when he comes in, if you mill a character, gets plus 2,000 power, making him an on-play 4K striking level 0 that turns into a 2K mill runner. This is why I had to redo the perfect fits, because you realize that if you try to put the perfect fit opening where the sealed end of the actual sleeve is, in conventional sleeves that aren't facing sideways like this, it will be at the bottom of the card. You'd want the opening at the bottom of the card here for the perfect fit, so when you slid it into a normal sleeve, it would be on the opposite side. But these are sideways, and you want to play with them sideways, or at least I do, because they're gorgeous. And when you draw a card, now you draw like this. You reveal cards off the top. You want them to face upwards. So a little bit of value engineering. I mean, they're not, these decks aren't meant to be played on their side. It's a little more difficult to maneuver, but small price we pay for beautiful sleeves. Yeah. So we have 4 Mares. Mare is again, mill runner. Mills when it comes in. Sees a Nazaric or grotesque character, gets plus 2K. It's a really good profile. 2K mill runners also is already a very strong profile for English. Those are very plentiful in sets, but they're pretty much a staple in every set they're running. SAO is an example, ReZero is an example. Not ReZero, sorry. Titan's an example. Gurren Lagann, the free running Yoko. I mean, mill runners are bread and butter, level 0 at this point. The fact that this guy gets plus 2K additional if he sees a Nazaric or grotesque character, again, same condition for him to run, turning him into a striker makes him extra powerful. So we really like this card. Second part of the level 0, though, we go to this Nabe, which kind of synergizes with Mare. We've talked about that before in our deck techs. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about here, let's briefly discuss the synergy of a coin flip and a mill runner. What do I mean by a coin flip? Well, Nabe has an ability where at the beginning of your opponent's draw phase, you reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a level 1 or higher card, not character, just card, you can return to your hand. So roughly, being that 17 of your cards are probably level 0, 16, 17, and 8 climaxes. Unless you're running level 0 events, which I don't think exist in English. I'm pretty sure they don't. Maybe there's one. It's a 50-50 shot at her return to your hand, hence the term coin flip. She also gets plus 1/5 if you have 2 or less stock, making her a base 3K level 0. That's also a coin flip. Pretty strong profile. Easy to see why she's a 4 of. The reason that Mare and Nabe work together so well, though, is because they interact in 2 really cool ways. First, since Mare is a runner, putting more characters on the field in center stage to swing with can take away his utility in the sense that he can run away from trouble. But if you have a coin flip out and Nabe returns to your hand, that happens before that attack phase where Mare can run, freeing up more positions on the stage for him to run to. Second, since Nabe reveals the top card at the start of your opponent's draw phase, we know what the revealed card is going to be when we mill with Mare, or if we even want to mill it. If we reveal a level 1 or higher Nazaric character, we know that the mill run will hit, and we can choose to use the ability. If we hit a climax, yes, Nabe misses, but we don't blind mill a climax with Mare's ability. It's really nice. These two are a very powerful combo. We see combos like them in other sets, especially Bunny Girl Senpai, that also has a combo like this, and it's a pretty solid level 0 start of the game. Generates a lot of free advantage if used correctly. And let's face it, these SPs are absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely love them. Next up, why don't we just talk about this guy for a little bit? Man, this is an awful foil. I really wish they did not use this screenshot as a foil for Ainz, but you get what you get. I mean, most of the deck is complete beauty in every regard. This is not, so we'll just take what we can get here. 500 power, Master of the Great Tomb of Nazarick Ainz. He is a clock swap, level 0, meaning that when he is reversed, if his opponent is level 0 or lower, you can send that to your opponent's clock after sending the top card of their clock into their waiting room, thus preventing a lot of go-to-waiting room effects, especially like Akatsuki's, which is really nice. And when he comes in, you can pay 1 and clock yourself, top check 3, and add a character. Now, one thing Overlord does not have going for it is those level 0s that, like, when you come in, you pay 1, clock yourself, search like a level 1 or lower, just search a character, salvage a character, like, let's say Krista does in Titan, or Rimuru does in Slime. I mean, those classic profiles of targeted search level 0s that help you build advantage. Ainz is a little subpar in that regard because he only top checks 3. It's not a targeted search. Might not help you prep for level 1 as much, but he's also a clock swap, and not many of those cards are also utility cards to deal with level 0. So it's pretty good. This is a pretty good addition for us. Even if Overlord does not have those cards in a set, it has Ainz, and he's not a bad alternative. Foil's kind of bad, but again, take what you can get. We'll just go through some of the utility cards before we hit the brainstorm here. Level 0, strongest magic caster Ainz. See, they can give Ainz good foils. It's not just Albedo and the girls that get good foils. Man, I'm so glad they utilized this art in some way. He is actually a double bonder, level 0, 2k base. Put a card from your waiting room to salvage an event called Fallen Down, and put a card from your hand into your waiting room to salvage an event called Shooting Star. We do not run Fallen Down, but we do run Shooting Star. I like having this as a one-of just in case I need to salvage that or get it in some way, so I can have a searchable character which I can salvage with a brainstorm or get it with a drop searcher, because I obviously can't get the event with either of those tools. It's hard to search out events, much easier to search out bonders, so he's there as a one-of. We have 2 other tools though. We have Reason for the Handicap Ainz. He is a 2k standard Climax Pit salvage. Overlord does not have as many discard engines or outlets and targeted search as other sets, so I like having 1 Climax Stitch salvage in here for 1, a targeted search, prepare for level 0, or level 1 rather, and B, to help us get rid of Climaxes in our hand that we don't need. To the most beloved one, Albedo, same idea. She is a 2500 pay 1, pitch 1 search, a very standard profile among a lot of Weiss sets, but it's becoming standard practice to run at least 1 drop searcher in your deck. Overlord, I think this is especially important again because there is a significant lack of targeted search both at level 1 and at level 0. So I like having at least 1 of these in here. Worth mentioning that this drop searcher is actually not like something from the trial deck or something from the uncommon section. She's actually a box promo, and at the moment she is the most expensive drop searcher in Weiss Schwarz English to my knowledge. Very odd choice to make the drop searcher such an essential card in any given set. A box topper promo, very odd. But we've got her. We did pull... No, we didn't pull 1. I lied. We didn't even get 1 Albedo drop searcher in our deck boxes, I don't think. Our deck boxes are Overlord boxes. Man, those Overlord boxes hurt. Oh god, did they hurt. I don't know if you guys watched that video. I opened 8 boxes of Overlord when the set initially dropped for my pre-order. I opened 6 trial decks there, and whew, ooh, that was brutal. We don't talk about that. We just talk about what's here now. 3 Shao-tier Brainstormers. Again, standard profile that we see in other sets. On play, bomb a character on your opponent's center stage for 500 power. If your opponent happens to have like an Ainz, it just straight kills it, which is really nice. Or it just makes things easier to strike down, and she's a tap salvage Brainstormer. It's a strong profile. There are many like her, including in Slime actually. The Shuna Brainstormer has the exact same profile, and it's good. It's a great profile. Shao-tier is a really good Brainstormer, so definitely running her. And that's the level 0, 17 cards. Some decks are going down to 16, 15 level 0s now because sets are just getting better at getting things they need and turning cards into other cards and, you know, performing alchemy with cardboard in your hand. Overlord is an older set, unfortunately, and it doesn't have a lot of those modern utilities like we were talking about in the pay one, clock one search discussion we were having when we were talking about Ainz. It does have some really cool tools up its sleeve, like this combo with Nabe and Mari is really cool. The combination of a clock bomb and a, pay one, clock one, get some sort of advantage is really cool. Standard brainstorm profile that's considered widely good in any set is pretty cool. But again, lacking some of the more modern amenities that other level 0 games have. So 17 zeros just to make the game a little more consistent for us. That's a level 0 game. Let's move on to our level 1. We have 11 cards here, and we're going to start with our level 1 combo. It's Hero of Heroes moment. He combos with a wind. This is another one of those situations where I see where they were going. I definitely understand the want to use this particular screen grab as a foil, and it just doesn't translate very well into a foil. You can see like there's a lot of weird outlining. It comes across almost kind of grainy, unclear because of the way the art is in these kind of stills in anime, like the iconic still, like with Moment walking away after the battle and everything. And it's a really cool idea to have as a foil, but in practice, not so much. It's kind of like the Blasted Tree foil from Fate Apocrypha, which is honestly, it's just so much worse. It just looks like a complete mess. You can barely tell what's going on. This one, not nearly as egregious. I still like the way this looks, but not... If Bushiroad is listening, please don't use these stills like this for foils. They just don't turn out nearly as well, unfortunately. That said, I still like this, but that's a discussion for another day. Let's talk about Hero of Heroes moment. Base 10, 4K, experience 2 or higher though. If you have someone or some combination of cards in your level zone, the total level 2 or higher, he gets plus 2K, making him a base 6K 10 with a Climax combo. Pretty good. His Climax combo is, when the wind is in your Climax zone and he reverses a battle opponent, first he gets plus 2,500 power and a level until the end of your opponent's next turn, which is already ridiculous. But then you get to top check, and if you see a character, basically any character in the Nazarick set that isn't like a subhuman race species like Kruge or the Lizard Men, you get to add it to your hand. That's why you run him in the Raven Black deck, even though a lot of those cards aren't Grotesque or Nazarick. Actually, a good majority of them are. That's why the deck works. But still, he gets the stuff that isn't. He gets Human Race. He gets Grotesque Race. That's the actual text on him, which, like I said, hits pretty much everything in the set, as pretty much everything in this deck is Grotesque Race, except for Mare and Aura, which are Human Race. Some strange reason. But that's our combo. It's a very solid level 1 combo. Becomes a 1-0, 8,500 level 2 on our opponent's turn, which is disgusting. Can't be reversed by level reversers. And keep in mind, if you run this into a level reverser, because you are the turn player and your effect happens first, he gets the +1 level. You can slam this into level 1 reversers, and if they stay at level 1 and not cost 0, since he'll become a level 2 by the time that effect is finished resolving, your opponent's effect can't resolve back because he's no longer level 1, he's level 2. Pretty cool. Pretty cool beans. You know what else is pretty cool beans? This card. This is Subjugation of the Wise King of the Forest Momin, probably one of the longest names in Weiss Wars, bordering on like those long Conclave names. Don't know why they chose that. But it's a 1-1, really good card. Base 4,500, but if it's in the middle center, gets 3,000 and a soul, making it a 1-1-7-5, 2 soul at level 1 if it's in the center middle, which is pretty insane, and no matter what, it has character encore. Just put a character from your hand to the waiting room and rest the card if it's reversed. This card's ridiculous. I really like this card. It's a huge wall, really hard to get rid of. It's just stupid. This card's stupid. I love it. Really reliable beater, even until the end game, because it has 2 soul. 2 soul, and Encore just gets huge like Moment. Moment also gets huge. Moment, if you execute his combo, gets to 8,500. If you haven't noticed, this deck is a lot about stage presence. It's a lot about putting power on the board. Just obnoxious amounts of free power. That's why we are running a 102k backup. Not the only reason, obviously, because the Albedo foils, no matter how you slice it, are absolutely gorgeous. Man, I'm so glad they used so much of the ending credit arts in the set. But standard 102k backup, good addition to a lot of decks, great addition to decks that rely on stage presence, which Overlord definitely does. So we're running 2 of her. Put those in the sleeves because there's not much else to say about that. We do have one other addition at level 1 though, which we have not seen before in any of our deck techs. It's Death Knight. 5,500 on play, gets plus X times 500 where X is characters, but all your other characters can't side. Kind of a pain in the butt in some moments, but mostly you're not going to notice it. Now, ordinarily, we would not run a striker in combination with like a lot of this. We might run some extra tech, but it just so happens that Death Knight is part of a pseudo restand combo that we're running at level 3. So we're running 3 of him. And also, strikers aren't bad cards. Cards that just come in, get big, and they cost you very little in terms of resources, and they can take out pretty much any target at level 1. I guess not any target, being that getting to 7,500 is actually not big enough to reverse an 8,500 level 2 Moment. Pretty ironic when you think about it, but also makes sense flavor-wise. But there just isn't much in Weiss at level 1 that gets that big on its own. That's why Moment is so powerful. That's why strikers like this are so powerful. So, regardless, good addition. The only other part of that, which is kind of a pain in the butt, is these are green and Moment is yellow. So bulk of our level 1 is yellow, so can cause a little bit of color strain. This is a true 3-color deck. There are cards that you want to play that are in all 3 colors at different parts of the game. So color management is key in playing the deck. You have to remember that. Speaking of color management, we have a red and a green level 2. This is the only level 2 we run. First, we have Cute Blunder Albedo. She is a 2/1 level assist. She has 2 other abilities besides that, though. She is a discard bond for Overlord Ainz, which is our finisher. That's really good because a level assist that bonds the finisher is very useful, as Goblin Slayer taught us. And she has an act ability that if you rest her, you can choose one of your Overlord Ainz and give it plus 2,500 power. Being that his combo is something that relies on reversing an opponent, that's pretty good. It's pretty good. So definitely is a one of, just to put behind your finishers at the end of the game. Just a really strong choice. Level 2, last card we have Breath of Mental Manipulation Aura. This is the 2/1 2,500 backup that is also a pay for pitch 1 rest counter. Now pay for pitch 1 is a hell of a cost, but since it's a rest counter, it can literally stop you from losing the game, and you can't really put a price on that, can you? When it comes to paying in-game resources to stop yourself from losing the game itself. So naturally, running it, it's one of the strongest cards in Overlord, in my opinion. Rest counters in general are just very strong cards to have. And it's a searchable rest counter, unlike some of them which are on events, which means you can salvage this, you can top check for it, and I just can't get this rest counter in this sleeve without my perfect fit kind of bubbling out on me here. So let's see. There we go. There's a lot of air that gets trapped in between the sleeves the way I have them, because obviously you're putting 2 sleeves in opposite directions and the air has a lot of trouble escaping through the relevant end of the sleeve. And the deck's going to be very thick by the time I'm done with this. I probably will not be able to pick it up or shuffle it very smoothly with one hand, but with play, it will get a lot more manageable. So going to level 3, let's talk about what we've got here. Deck is actually packing 6 early plays, which is pretty cool. 2 events, 3 main finishers, and a secondary finisher. And we'll talk about all of those in a moment, but first let's go over the early plays. This is Nazarik's Values Nabe. She's a 3-2, gets -1 level. If you have 2 or less climaxes, if you have experience 4 or greater, which again, there's that experience in yellow, she gets plus 1000 power, making her a 10-5. And when she comes in, she is a top check X, where X is your opponent's characters. So a little bit of a pain that you can't control how many you're actually top checking for, because you can't really dictate how many characters your opponent is going to put on the stage on their turn. But it's still a top check, and at the end of the game, your opponent's probably going to have a full or close to full stage anyway, so it's not like you're not going to get value out of her. But one big reason we're actually playing her at level 3 in this amount is because she is a level 3 yellow quad target, meaning that at the beginning of the game, if you put her in your level zone, you are well on your way to experience 4 for any future Nabes you play. But key, you already have experience 2 for your Momin. Really good. Really good to start with this in your clock and level with it at the beginning of the game. It's going to set you up for a good time. Now, let's talk about the other early play we run. We run Infinite Loyalty Albedo. She's an early play. If you have 4 or more other Grotesque or Nazarik characters, on your turn, she gets plus X times 500, where X is characters. And when she comes in, she is a pitch stock healer, meaning that when you play her, you can pitch a card, take the top card of your clock, and put it into your stock, effectively making her a 3-1 that heals you if you just discard a card. Really good. It's a really solid profile. People love stock healers, especially stock healers that get big, and Albedo fits that. Good addition for us, not to mention outrageously good art. Again, that anime ending art that's all hand drawn. None of it's like this weird CG. I guess not CG, it's what do you call that animation that Overlord uses? I can't quite remember. 3D rendering. It's very popular, especially in the later seasons of Overlord, like everything uses the same model. Oh man, I can't get this one in either. I hate when this happens. Bring that out. Maybe just from bottom. There we go. Now that's snug in there. But again, they knew who they were marketing to these, because these foils are absolutely lovely. Put these other ones in. Careful not to let that same thing happen. Yeah. You'd think I'd just get the muscle memory down at this point because I've sleeved so many cards, but the fact that these are sideways and I have to account for the fact that I'm drawing them sideways is really throwing me off. I know some people would just play with a deck like this, that would be the reasonable thing to do, but I'm like, no, I want it like this. I don't actually know if I get called out in tournament for that. I seriously doubt it, but maybe. Anyway, now let's talk about the secondary finisher we have in the deck. Endless Devotion Albedo. She is a healer when she comes in, and when she makes a direct attack, you can pay 1 and pitch 1 and deal 1 damage. That's kind of nice for a direct attack because it means you won't hit a climax when you just attack direct and cancel on 1, which is kind of nice, but still a direct attack at level 3 is not really what we're looking to do, especially not that we're running a Climax combo at level 3, meaning that that's going to be a 4-soul swing with no possibility of siding. But still, it's a burn, pay 1, pitch 1, burn, not terrible, and it's a healer. And let's face it, this is drop dead gorgeous. This is insanely beautiful Albedo art. Albedo is a wonderful girl. This is wonderful Albedo art. And of course, we are going to put her in here, and we're not going to talk about the 18 trial decks I opened to find one. Nope, not going to talk about that. Instead, we're going to talk about the level 3 event. Shooting Star, aka Cryptic Command, has 3 modes versus Cryptic Command 4 modes. You can pay 3 at level 3 and do 1 of the following effects. Either deal 2 damage to your opponent, or choose up to 2 cards in your clock, put them in your waiting room, and then put this in memory. Or you can choose one of your characters and it gets plus 8,000 power until the end of your opponent's next turn. This is obviously modeled after like the wish ring that Ainz had in the show. It's really cool because it has like these 3 wish modes on it. It's pretty flavorful, but the 3 modes are also very useful for us. This can be a healing card to gain its tempo. This can be a damage card to help close the game. And it can also be a power card to help us deal with some problem strategies when it comes to Bodyguard. Bodyguard is a keyword that's coming to more popularity in English Weiss as more sets get released that have the keyword and have good cards with the keyword on it, especially like Bunny Girl Senpai, which has the very scary Futaba Bodyguard. And we like the potential to disrupt that plan just by having that in this card, which we'd run anyway. Put that there, and we will close out with the finisher of the deck. Overlord Ainz. When he comes in, you can top check 3, add a card. During your turn, gets plus 500 times X, X is characters, and his Climax Combo is with a gate, grass part. When his battle opponent becomes reversed, grass part is in your climax zone. You can pay 3, pitch a card, and return him to your hand. If you do, deck kick his battle opponent, and then choose a card in your waiting room called Death Knight. Remember him? Put Death Knight on the stage where Ainz was. So it's a pseudo restander, which there are a lot of in English. And the price is pretty standard for a pseudo restander, if not just a tad more expensive. But keep in mind that Ainz returns to your hand and deck kicks his opponent, which are 2 things pseudo restanders in Weiss typically don't do, giving you a little extra advantage for what you're paying for. It's a pretty good finishing combo. Again, expensive, but pretty good. You're probably looking to get 1, maybe 2 off. That's why we only run one of the Cute Blunder Albedos to put behind him, but still pretty good. Pretty cool finishing combo. And again, flavorful for Ainz Ooal going. And that's our 42 card deck. 40 characters, 2 events, 3 finishers, 2 events at level 3 to help us finish or do some tech, 1 secondary finisher, 6 early plays, 1 rest counter, 1 level assist that's also a discard bond with our finisher, 3 strikers at level 1, 2 102k backups, 2 big bodies at the center middle stage with Encore, 4 level 1 Climax Combo that's a base 106k, pretty good, 3 Brainstormers, 1 Drop Search, 1 Climax Salvage, 1 discard bond for the level 3 event, 3 Clock Swaps that are also a pay 1 clock yourself, build some sort of advantage card, 4 Coin Flips, and 4 Runners. All in all, this is a kind of vanilla Weiss deck. It's got its own flavor, as all Weiss decks do, but the basic strategy of putting cards on the board, gaining advantage by attacking with Climax combos, with a pseudo restand finish and some regular backups, not including the rest counter, it's pretty standard stuff. This is what Weiss essentially will look like when you consider what a Weiss deck might be, if you're not thinking about like crazy stuff like Standby or Standby. Oh man, Standby's a hoot. Let's leave up these climaxes. Got 4 wins. Wind at one point in the English meta, like a year or 2 ago, wasn't nearly as good as it is now. Now you want wind. Gate, always good. Always solid to be able to salvage a character on play. Both of these are 1k1s. They're tempo climaxes. Make your characters bigger. Make your Ainz 7k when they're swinging into things, which is a pretty respectable number. And keep in mind, they can get that extra power, become 8-5 on your opponent's turn. By Ainz, I mean Momin, the same guy. Come on, guys. The anime is like, what, 10 years old at this point? I mean, it's old as dirt. And the set, in terms of Weiss Schwarz, in some ways is old as dirt. It's an older Japanese set. And because it lacks some of those modern amenities we talked about at level 0, and even, you know, in some ways at level 3, a lot of people kind of overlook it, unfortunately. But one good thing about Weiss is it's not, in a lot of cases, about what's going to be strongest in the upcoming meta. Weiss is just a little more laid back than a lot of other card games that pursue that kind of cutting edge, super competitive aspect. And that's not to say that kind of thing doesn't have a place in Weiss Schwarz. It definitely does, and it's an enjoyable part of the game. But it's also enjoyable that we get to play our favorite series, and they're just, you know, they're not just power crept out of the game, you can still win with a lot of what you might pick up in Weiss, even the older sets. If you play smart, if you make good plays, and you're an experienced player, you can definitely win. You know, every tournament result that we get in English and Japanese shows us this. I mean, while there is some consistency in the top, there is right now a healthier meta, and we still do see some of the older sets popping in. There is a still pretty diverse field. It's not just one or two decks dominating the entire meta. Which, looking at you, Magic the Gathering, holy crap. How did you think, what's his face? 3-letter Planeswalker, 3-drop Planeswalker, busted the entire game. Vintage, Legacy, Modern, and Standard. Let's not talk about that. Let's just talk about what we have in front of us here. This is the Max Rarity Overlord deck. And it is absolutely gorgeous, except for this card. But not much we can do about that, unfortunately. Again, culmination of some very bad decision making, but all worth it in the end. And seriously, these are beautiful. I'll give you guys at home some footage of going through this. Now, obviously, I don't want to play the deck with the character sleeves out like this. Not only do character sleeves not shuffle very well, you don't want to damage character sleeves like this by shuffling and handling them too much. So, got to put the oversleeves on. And as I put the oversleeves on, I'm actually going to call it a day, because I've really talked about a lot of the strategy you employ with a lot of these cards. Anyway, we've already really discussed all there is to discuss about the Nazarick deck. It's not a meta-breaking deck. Let's get that out there. It's not something that's going to sweep tournaments left and right. You're not going to pick this up and get a bunch of free wins off of it. The deck's struggles with overall consistency for its lack of targeted searches and its trouble with being able to burn the deck out when you need to, not having a lot of like multiple card top check packed into the deck, makes it not as strong in some ways as other modern competitors, but it's still got its own flair. It's got its own flavor. The abilities it has are still threatening in a lot of ways, and it's really cool to pick up and play. I really enjoyed the games I played with it online, with the cards I got in my boxes, just with the regular Rarity version I was testing out. And this is not by all means the final build. I might add and subtract cards in this in the future. I'll keep you players updated at home with what I decide to do with it. And I'll definitely be posting games I play with this deck because, again, it's a gorgeous deck. I want to play it a lot. I want to keep bringing this out again and again and have a lot of fun with it. And this deck is going to stay with me, just like my Gurren Lagann deck. Two of my favorite things now that I own in Weiss 4s. And despite all the poor decisions that have led to this point, I'm very glad that I'm here with you players playing this game I love so much, with decks that are so enjoyable to look at and play. So look forward to more content in the future. I'm working on a lot of things right now. There's a lot to do. Still got to do the fall recap for Weiss 4s in general before I turn to next year, and it's too late to do the fall recap. Really want to get that up before Thanksgiving, so watch for that. Also working on a new How to Play Weiss 4 series in terms of getting a little better at the game, now that you know the basics. Already dropped the first video on that, gotten some pretty positive feedback. Next video is about a concept in Weiss that's very important if you're just starting out the game, so watch for that. And as always, watch for box openings, watch for more deck techs because more of those are headed your way soon. And as always, thanks for watching. Peace.